Welcome, everyone. So, I wasn't quite sure how big this crowd was going to be, but for getting your start in cybersecurity for practically free, I think it's pretty good. So, starting off. So, who am I? What kind of qualifications qualify me for being here? So, previously I've done. Okay, I'm skipping a slide. Okay, so I'm a cybersecurity hobbyist. Basically, I've kind of studied cybersecurity as a hobby, lots of DEF CON talks, listening to different cybersecurity talks and what all. So my qualifications, now as noted, I do use Linux on the daily. It is my daily driver. I do use Artix, by the way. So that's the very important detail here. And I've been asked questions about this. Why Artix? Why would you use that over something like Arch? And it's more because I got bored of Arch and I wanted something a little bit different to use. So I also graduated from Bridgerland. I went through their IT cybersecurity course in a much shorter time than I should have, but that's because of my background in material that I already knew. So it really reinforced a lot of what I had previously learned from things that I had been studying for free already. So this is where it kind of rolls in. And my time at Bridgerland also kind of rolls into it as well. So who am I? Again, I've previously talked at Sky Talks at DC24, kind of on a similar bent to this. I've watched plenty of YouTube. I do run my own YouTube channel. I've got PeerTube and a bunch of other places that I put videos up on. And then I also live out in the middle of rural Box Elder County where I get to play in the dirt all the time. So I'm kind of taking the field of IT and kind of smaller scale farming and trying to put them together. So one of the questions that a lot of people may have, they're interested in cybersecurity. How do I get into it? How do I get my start into it? I don't have... So all the images in here I've generated on my own system using Flux or Stable Diffusion. And I provided the prompts down below. So I've got no money. How do I get into it? This is one of the questions that I ran into as well. I had no money, no way to pay for any of this. So how do I go about doing this? So I've got no time. This is kind of a big one that I see with a lot of people is they're not sure about if they have time to really study cybersecurity or to get into it, to mess with it. And I can't really spend 4 years at college to go and do that. Luckily, there are a lot of schools out there that have a much shorter time that you spend in school to get your first foot in the door. And then after that, you can go on and you're learning the basics. So if you feel like you don't know anything about cybersecurity or even IT in general, then school can help you do that or any of the resources that I provide here. On top of that, you may not feel all that confident in what you know. And so hopefully these resources will help you to gain that confidence that you need to get that start and feel like, okay, I don't have to know everything, but I know enough to get my foot in the door. So we're going to kind of go over that budgetary issue first. So my first spot, a lot of people go towards the loan, but I like the family support option. If you've got family and they can even give like $50 to get you in the front door, that's a great start. Because what that does is there are some schools that require you to have like, you need to do this course before we can actually get you in for pre-admission. So that family support, if you can get like 10, 20 here and there, that can help you get tools, get you into school and things like that. The big one that I used was the Pell Grant. And this can pay for all your courses and coursework. And it depends from school to school what exactly or how much you're exactly going to get for that Pell Grant. But it can help cover that coursework. So if you feel like you don't have the money to do it, definitely check out the Pell Grant. And if you are older than 26, it's going to be a lot easier to get the full Pell Grant for sure. Trust me, I know. So another big one is scholarships, and I tried to cash out on these big time. Scholarships, when you're in school, can help pay for that stuff and stretch that any other money sources a lot further. And then you've got the other budget options. You've got various subscriptions. You've got free coursework. MIT has had open courseware for over a decade. So that has been a great resource that I've downloaded entire courses from. And then you've got books. Books are evergreen. You buy them once and you can refer back to them later on. So, and I'll touch more on that one later. So for those that feel like they don't have time, I hear a lot of no time stuff. Online schooling is a great resource. Western Governors University is very flexible with its times. There are some technical schools that allow you to be very flexible with your time, but they can be kind of vary in quality. Again, technical schools, some may be more flexible than others. That's where you have to kind of make the time for them. With podcasts, YouTube, you can actually listen to those podcasts while you're doing other work. And then, of course, you're going to have to make the time. This one I didn't generate myself, but I liked it enough, it fit in with it enough that it worked. So making time, that's kind of a big one that I've seen a lot of people talk about with anything, is making time to be able to do the important things that get them closer to their goals. Are you prioritizing your time enough to get that stuff in? What can I shave off? What can I do to make more of my time worth it so that I can meet my goals and do something that may help me in my career or just in building a business in the field that I want to go into? So some of you may feel like you have no background knowledge. The happy thing for you is you don't need to know everything. We all start from zero. We've all been there. Sometimes we forget about how far we've come. And even with those people that have been on Linux for forever, ask anybody that jumps into like the Arch Linux or forums. They're like, all of them are elitists. I don't know what's wrong with them. They all insult me. But if we all remember that we start from zero, then we're able to help those people that are trying to get in, get up to speed a lot easier. So the nice thing is if you're going the school option, then a lot of schools start from zero. So they may ask you some very, very basic things, but they're going to start you from the basics and then build your knowledge as you go from there, eventually getting you to the point to where you can get certifications and so on. The hands-on learning part is the really cool part. There are lots of options out there with Hack in the Box, Over the Wire, and so on. We can take what we learned from there and apply it into other cases, because tools like Hack in the Box actually take actual VMs of machines that have previously been vulnerable and allow you to do exercises and hack those to gain that experience and learning from previous situations that people have run into. So this was kind of a big one for me, not having any confidence in what you know. So schools can reinforce what you know. If you aren't quite sure, those can be a great resource, because particularly with Bridgerland, a lot of their staff, they like to have previous experience in the field. And for me, that was a big one because I got to talk with people and actually interface with people, and it helped build my confidence because I could see and confirm that I knew what I actually knew. And with some of the other options I took while there, it helped build that confidence more so. And those certifications help confirm that knowledge as well. So as you gain those certifications, you study for them, and then you go through and test for them, then it helps build that confidence as well. Here's that certification that I got. Here's that certification that I got. And if you don't necessarily have the money for the certifications, a lot of that is covered by schools if you take that option. So sandboxing everything that you do is a big part of of it as well. Building that practice, which is something I've notably been somewhat imperfect about, helps you to practice it. And if you mess up, it's a sandbox. You didn't kill anything. If you're doing this on your daily driver system, then something may be a little bit off and you're doing something a little bit wrong. And one important thing that I've found is there are a lot of things that I've learned from other fields that apply into cybersecurity. So take into, for example, why we have layered security with its different benefits at each layer. We have fences, we've got security cameras, lights, and these things do different things, but when you layer them together, it creates a more robust system. So people have to go through different exploits to get to the end. Trees are a lot the same way. With grafting trees, what they'll often do is they'll take a certain root stock because of the disease resistances that that root stock has, and they'll graft another different tree for its fruit that they want on top of it, so they can have the disease resistance from the ground and then get the fruit that may be more susceptible to that disease. So that layering builds on top of it. You've also got other fields like sales where you go through a lot of the same principles of social engineering to get someone to buy the product you're trying to sell them. So it becomes very important to not just study cybersecurity, but to study these other fields because they can help you learn and build a more robust intro into the field as well, and give you different angles that you can take. So I've referenced school a lot through the previous slides, and I was one that previously didn't quite like the school idea, but I found it is something that can be very beneficial. So many schools also provide certification vouchers. I believe if you are in the Ogden area, OTech provides that. Bridgeland provides vouchers for like A+, Net Plus, Security Plus. You've got WGU that provides vouchers throughout their coursework. If you're getting a master's at WGU, they do the Pen Test Plus in that program. So you will need to sacrifice time. And that's the big part that sometimes people have an issue with, is their schedule doesn't always line up. And I found a lot of employers will actually work with people, or from what I've heard, if they're saying, hey, I want to go to school to improve my skills here so that I can better serve you. Would you allow me to take time off to do that? And some of them will accommodate that for schooling. And again, quality will vary. You're going to have varying different qualities from school to school. And depending on who you are, you may need something that's a little bit more in person. You may be fine with something that's online. I know someone that went through the WGU Masters program in about 4 months, and they bill every 6 months. So you can go through an entire course depending on who you're going through and do it for a really, really low dollar value. So my favorite method is the self-learning method. So a lot of the stuff that I've done has been pretty online through YouTube DEF CON Talks as noted. So really this should be a normal ongoing pattern for everyone, is the self-learning, the learning at home, different hobbies that you do, trying to pick up different devices that will help enhance your ability to learn. So YouTube has a lot of cool resources and tutorials that lets you get that foot in the door, that knowledge. So if you're not quite so confident in doing that first exploit or setting up that first VM, you can find a plethora of YouTube tutorials and videos to help you do that. You've also got podcasts on YouTube where experts actually sit down and talk with people that may not know as much, and they talk about these concepts and building on that with them as well. Social media has been a tool that I've found that's really helpful. If you're on X, you can find quite a few cybersecurity-oriented accounts that deal with tooling for building your tool set and even different memes that explain different things, linking to different sites that help you to learn about cybersecurity, and just notifying of different exploits that happen. So one of the early learning sites that I went to is Cybrary, and this was way back when they were mostly free. They've kind of gone to a more subscription model, it feels like, for a lot of things. So I've ended up picking up some of their certifications early on from there. And I've even used it to study for like the Net Plus and the Security Plus. And they've got decently well done programs, the readers notwithstanding. As I noted before, practical sites that give you those skills like Over the Wire and Try Hack Me, they've been really helpful resources that I've found to learn different exploits, and they orient it more as a capture the flag, just like we have at any other security conference that we've been at. So the hardest part, I think, for some people is building those connections that can get them through the door. And this is a platitude that everyone's used over and over. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I've found more and more that that's the most important part, is going out, getting to know different people, kind of adding people to your network so that you have a connection. Hey, have you heard anything about this? Or even to build your knowledge. As I've been here, I've been able to talk to the different sponsors and gotten different ideas from them on what things I can implement as someone looking at doing agriculture, IT, and security, and even building on skills that I may have not have necessarily practiced as much earlier on. So keeping your ears open is another big one, because you never know who you can meet through someone else. Just like LinkedIn gives you like your 3rd degree, 4th degree, whatever connections, those connections can be really important for either helping you find a job or finding clientele if you're building a business. And then talking with people who know the field. I've mentioned before that going to Bridgerland has helped me build that confidence because of the people that have been there. And I've been able to see that I can hold my own in some of these conversations. It's also being able to learn from those people. It was through my parents that I was able to run into Colby Clark, who's been in the field for over 20 years. And I got to sit down and talk with him over the phone and get some advice and tips from him on getting into some of the stuff and getting some recommendations from him on where to go down the road. And again, be open to listen, be teachable. That's the important part, is being in those teachable moments. Because if you're one of those people who's acting like a know-it-all, it can be kind of tough to learn from other people because they may be less willing to offer you things. And I know I've been in that moment where I feel like I've pushed the know-it-all aspects of everything. So don't do that. And then finally, again, try to break out of your shell. I've noticed that the game here has been really helpful for helping people get out of their shell because of the collaboration that we have to do. And just sitting down at a random table when you're eating, you get to know a lot of people and get to talk to them, hear about different things that they're doing, and you get to glean a lot of seeds and information from them. And that's a resource that some people would pay thousands of dollars for some of that advice and knowledge that you get from people. So breaking out of your shell has been really helpful. Also, if you get a revive, I hear that it's more effective if you make a sound effect as you're reviving people. So remember to do that. Just do the choo-choo. Anyway. So this is kind of how I came down the road, how I applied these different things. So first, obviously, was many years of self-learning. I'd gone through library books about like Basic, or Liberty Basic was the program they were running on it. And then exploring Python on my own. I kind of got to the point where I was exploring so many different programming languages. I kind of got sick of going through the basics and just like, give me the syntax, please tell me how to do this, that, and the other. Give me a cheat sheet. I'll figure it out from there. And it's also was to a point where my cousins were asking me, hey, can you look over my code? I know you probably don't know this one, but you can probably decipher it. They weren't too far off, but many, many security talks. I think a couple of my favorite have been Jason Street's talks talking about breaking into banks and just going into high security areas in pajamas. So no one can beat that. There's also a classic one. I can't remember who gave it. It was, I think, DEF CON 17, The Art of Trolling. That was a pretty good talk. It was a troll talk submitted that got accepted. But so I've also been purchasing small things here and there. So as I get different checks, I've put money off to the side to get different things, like very important security tool, the Steam Deck. It's actually been pretty invaluable. I got annoyed with someone on YouTube who put Kali onto a little SD card and then booted up. I'm like, I'm going to do it better. So we're going to put Black Arch on it. We're going to set up the Valve's Arch repos, and we're going to like install the kernel and do it right. So I've got an SD card with that set up on it. And getting different tools for putting together networks, just small purchases can make the big difference. It's not exactly free, but one thing that is free is if you've got an old laptop hanging around, you can set up your tooling on there with open source tools. Previous high school courses I've done have gone over A+, Network Plus, and that was over a decade ago. So the A+ one was back before they introduced the CE stuff for Network A+ anyway. And those videos were very, very cheesy in high school. So I would recommend those videos. They were pretty good. But yeah. So then I finally got to a point where I was kind of lost and I wasn't quite sure what to do. And I was kind of driving down the road and it's like, okay, well, maybe I can try out school. And so I'm like looking at different programs, and Bridgerland was the one that had the best fit for my interests and what I was looking into. And I'd heard someone online previously had gotten a Pell Grant, and my cousin had gotten a Pell Grant to go to Ensign College. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll look into that. So going from there, the Pell Grant processed really quickly. I'd gone through, done the paperwork, done the pre-admission stuff, got in, and I was kind of surprised at how quickly it really did go. I thought it was going to take it's going to take 2 months. No, felt like 2 or 3 weeks once I got the process going. The other thing is, having talked to people in the field, as I mentioned, Colby Clark is someone that I've been able to talk to. There have been different people that I've interacted with online. Previous to any of that, I'd joined a couple different forums. One notable thing is, I don't know what it is with some of these hacker forums, but they don't like Latter-day Saints on there. They think like, what are you doing here on a hacker forum if you're Mormon? It's like, I'm interested in this stuff. Do you not think someone like me can be interested in like breaking things and putting it back together, figuring out how it works? But yeah, I think that may have killed a little bit of interest, but obviously I got it right back. So working an internship helped me build that confidence as well. It helped confirm what I didn't know. So while at Bridgerland, I'd gone up to work with Maze and working in Preston to help with some of their school district networking stuff. And some of the other employees that I got to interact with there were kind of surprised at everything that I knew. I had one comment where he was like, I don't know what it is, but you knew something new every time I talked to you, and something different. I'd figured out different things, putting together scripts to make setting up the student devices much easier and quicker. So I did a couple things outside of my pay grade that they could appreciate or not quite appreciate. And then because I have to play it on hard mode, I have to build my own business, obviously, because I want to be able to choose my schedule and I want to be able to sleep in whenever I want. So what do we do now with all of this? Everything that I've shared with you. And somehow if you've done anything like this, it's valuable information to have. You can't go wrong, and there are people looking for that skill set. If you've read books, even now, I still have books from my dad going to Fort Leavenworth and stealing books out of the Foreign Military Studies office. Most of them are on Chinese hackers, and that's kind of what helped me. But then there's also red teaming resources to understand military philosophy behind that. And those become valuable resources, and those are free. Wherever you can glean that information, wherever you've gleaned that information from even, it becomes really valuable for people that way. If you don't have the certs, I think I've exemplified that there's a way to get those certs for free. You don't have to spend all the money on it. You can go get a Pell Grant, and those vouchers, if the school provides them, can provide that money to pay for your certs. So I've got my A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus because of that Pell Grant and the vouchers provided in the coursework. Again, buy books. Get plenty of books. There are incident response books, as I've shown off, the Foreign Military Studies Office books. Those are very valuable for helping you learn and give you something to refer back to. Because even the older stuff can be valuable to help you learn how to attack or defend newer stuff. Because sometimes the old tricks are what end up working again and again and again. And I've seen how that's worked out in other areas. So if anyone follows the StarCraft pro scene in Korea, you'll notice that some of the older pros have come back in and they've brought old strategies back, or they've revamped old strategies to work with the modern meta. And it's a lot the same way here. We're all in a competition against attackers, against each other, on defending our systems and getting into those systems. So that old meta from old books can help you today. And then again, it comes down to practice, 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 practice. If you've got a home network, you can set it up yourself. If you've got a private web server set up at home, or you want to set one up, it's actually pretty easy. You get an old laptop, you put whatever programs you want on it, and go from there. If you've got virtual machines, you can build from there. And it's actually pretty nice because I've got a laptop at home that I've set up multiple different virtual machines on. And it helps me know the tooling and practice a little bit more. So I kind of went through this a little bit quicker than I had rehearsed. But I stole a quote from Distinct Mind on the Discord. And for whatever reason, the presentation hates me when I'm in presentation mode. But he said, I agree that a computer science degree is valuable. And, okay. Yeah, I hate this. And someone already has one. Okay, I'm going to skip it. Anyway, so remember, I'm Nephite JNF on pretty much anywhere. If you find me on Signal, it's just tag it with the .69. And then any questions or rumors, jokes? Okay, thank you.